A lot of people get progressive overload backwards. You want to progress the girth of your squat plug before the length. Okay, real talk, proper progressive overload is very important for lifters, but there are a lot of common issues I see with people's comprehension. Let's go over them one by one. The first is people simply getting it backwards. They assume that adding of weight to the bar is what's making them stronger, and they have to keep adding stimulus in order to get stronger. But really, the idea is we have a proper amount of stimulus, and as we get stronger, we have to add weight or whatever to maintain the difficulty and keep the stimulus the same. Don't put the cart before the horse and add weight to make yourself stronger. Unless you were underdoing it before, this will just lead to too fatiguing of a stimulus, hurting your strength. Now, the second mistake I often see is people progressively overloading the wrong variable. For example, doing the same volume with shorter rests. While that is going to make it harder, it isn't necessarily more stimulus for strength. If anything, it could be worse, as studies show cutting rests too much can harm strength gains. Another issue can be adding volume. While more volume can mean more stimulus, sometimes it can also not be worth the extra fatigue. Now, there absolutely can be a use for progressing your endurance or your work capacity, and sometimes more stimulus from more volume can be worthwhile. But when our goal is pushing strength, we want to focus on progressively overloading an actual demonstration of strength, added weight to the bar, or more reps with the same weight. Now, something else that can help you hit more weights and reps is creatine, like from Tasty Gains, sponsor this video. They make delicious creatine gummies with no gritty creatine taste. They're third-party tested for proper dosaging and no contaminants. Creatine can lead to a 1/3 increase in the rate of gain of muscle, link to that below. It's one of the only supplements actually worth using. If you really care about lifting, like most lifters who watch this channel or this video probably do, creatine is almost certainly worth the extra gains. You can get some at the link in the description and pinned comment. Thank you to Tasty Gains. Now, while you cannot go and get Tasty Gains too fast, you can progressively overload too fast, another common issue. Recall we want to progressively overload to maintain the proper stimulus as we get stronger. I do think the proper stimulus is a bit of a range rather than an exact difficulty. Lower intensities early in training cycles can help you build momentum by slowly adding and also work on technique, but you need to learn to grind as well. You need some higher intensity to get used to heavier weights. If you overdo your progressive overload though, you mess up on all of these. You will often hit a wall earlier. If you can add 20 pounds to the bar, doing it all at once leads to you having nowhere else to go. Adding 5 pounds per week for 4 weeks gives you the mental benefit of adding weight over and over again, plus gives you more time to actually build strength. You probably have more room to keep going at the end of that 4 weeks. Plus, as you get to higher intensities, things become more fatiguing. Some exposure to heavier weights is important, but going too heavy too often will just burn you out and possibly risk injury. So how fast in practical terms? I usually say a 12 to 16 week training cycle is best. It's enough time to build strength, but not too long that if things aren't working, you're wasting a lot of time. I use this formula on screen to calculate my starting intensities, and I usually find you want to stop progressive overload once your working sets are mainly in the RP7, bordering on the RP8 range. That rate of progressive overload will vary a lot between lifters. A noob can add weight session to session even, versus somebody who's been lifting for a decade or longer, and at a really high strength level doesn't have a lot of room to keep growing. But conversely, your absolute maxes play a role as well. 2% for my squat is about 15 pounds, but for somebody who squats 135 pounds, it's about 2.5 pounds. They need microplates to even load it. As you can see, these principles overrule any exact numbers given how different everybody is. But to summarize, with progressive overload, focus on slower and a more sustainable approach. Focus on progressing it as you get stronger, not to make you stronger, and make sure you're progressively overloading variables you actually care about and transfer over to your training goals. See the pinned comment and description for where to contact me for coaching and programs, my socials, and Tasty Gains. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And once again, thanks for watching.